Yep. Yep. Yes. Did you just say ratatouille? Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay, first thing that I need you to do is we're going to close Chromebooks for now. Pull out your unit circle. Okay, you will need your unit circle to do your notes and assignment today. Okay? You have, if you turn to the second page of your notes, a small unit circle that you'll just have to kind of switch a little bit, but it is on there. All right, and then also I have mine that I'll put up here. All right. Okay, so you should have your circle out. Okay, the plan for today. Okay, we're ready. Fine. Okay, so the plan is we're going to learn how to solve these equations. Okay, however, okay, you do not have a Delta Math today. Instead, your assignment is a test review. Okay, and then we'll test over this unit on Friday. Okay, everything on this test is the same unit circle stuff that you've been doing. So if you did poorly on the triangles test, it had a bunch of formulas, some of it's calculated, some of it's by hand, square roots, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is your chance to get a good grade on a test because it only covers one thing, it's the unit circle. Okay, so let's get started with number one. Look at the equation. What do you think you should do first to solve for x? If there's a plus root 3. You should minus the root 3. Very good. Okay, now minus root 3 from 0 is just now going to be a negative root 3. Okay, next step. I got a 2 in the front. I got to get rid of it. What do? Divide by 2. Which means that I want cosine x equal negative root 3 over 2. Now, if you had a calculator, at this point, you would do second cosine on both sides. But you're not allowed to do that for this test because you're not going to have a calculator. You're going to have the circle instead. Okay, but it's okay. It's very easy. You are going to look on the circle for where the cosine is this number. Now, cosine is very good. Cosine is the x value on the circle. So what you're going to do is look on your unit circle and find all the places. Okay, find all angles. Okay, hang on. Where the x value is equal to that number. Okay, so if you want to write that little sentence, and then we're going to find it, but I see some of y'all have already found it. Okay, so yeah. So remember that cosine is the x value. So I just want the x value to equal that number, and then I'm going to list the places where that happens. So for example, okay, I have a negative root 3 over 2 right here. Okay, that would be 150. Write it down. And then it also happens right here at 210. So I'm going to put x equals 150 and 210. Now, quick question. Do I also want 240 where I see another root 3 over 2? Great. Okay. Let's go on to, we're not going to do all of these. Let's go down to number 5, please. 5 sine theta plus 5 equals 0. What would I do first? Okay, minus the 5 across. So I have 5 sine x equals 0 minus 5 is negative 5. From there, what would I do next? Okay, divide by 5 is correct. So I have sine x equals. Now remember, anytime you have the same number top and bottom, they cross out. What do you leave as a placeholder? That's a -1. On the circle, sine is the x or y value. Sine is the y value. So you're going to look on the circle. Okay, very good. 270 is correct. Exactly. Okay, and that is essentially what your calculator is doing when it solves these for you. Okay. Let's do maybe 2 more off the front here. Let's do number 4. What would I do first? Minus the 1. What is 1 minus 1? Okay, 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay, and then we know that sine is a y value. So I'm going to find all the places on the circle where the y value is 0. Okay, 0 degrees is 1. Where's the next one? Okay, 180, correct. And now there's actually one more. So I have 0 over here, 180 over here. And what about if I put 360? I'd be right back at 0. So 0 and 360 are the same spot, which means they're both answers. So we'll do 0, 180, and 360. Okay. All right, take a look at number 6. We have a squared in this one. Okay, so let's see how to solve that. I want to get rid of the -1. What do I do? +1. Okay, 0 plus 1 is sine squared x equals 1. Okay, then from here, to eliminate the squared, I have to take the what? Square root. Now, when you square root 1, what do you get? What's the square root of 1? This is a perfect. 1. Okay, and then technically, anytime that you take the square root, it's plus or minus 1. So here's what that means. When I look at my circle, I don't just need all the places where sine is 1. I would also take any place where sine is -1. Okay, and then remember that sine is your y value. Okay, and it could equal +1 or -1. Okay, you should be finding 2 spots on the circle where the y value is +1 would be the very top of the circle, -1 would be the bottom. What are my angles there? Very good. 90 and 270. All right. Turn the page, please. We are going to do okay, we're going to do one more from this section. We're going to do number 8. Okay. Okay, look at number 8. What are we going to do first? Okay, very good. Which means I have 2 cosine squared x equals 0 plus 1 is 1. Next step, divide by 2. So I have cosine squared x equals 1 over 2. Should I stop and look at my circle right now? No. Not with the squared. We're going to have to take the square root. Now, when you take the square root of a fraction, okay, I want you to do the top and the bottom of the fraction separately. Here's why. Okay, remember that 1 is a nice perfect square, but 2's not. So when I take the square root, I'm going to just keep cosine x. I want the square root of 1, which is 1 over the square root of 2, which is not perfect. So I'll leave it like that. What goes in the front? It would be plus or minus. And then if I go to look at my circle for this, I'm never going to find it because it's breaking a rule. What rule? All right, it's okay. Okay, so you're going to have to fix it. If your square root's on the bottom, then you would have to adjust it so that you can find it on your circle. So I want root 2 over 2, and then plus or minus. Now, before you list the answers, we're gonna work this question in radians. Okay, please, please. Okay, so as you read me the answers, we're not gonna say the degrees, we're gonna say the radians. But remember, it's the same thing. You're just measuring the angle differently. The pi's, good. So if I want root 2 over 2, it has to be an x. In quadrant 1, what degree does that happen at? 45, which is the same as write down pi over 4. Okay. Okay, now we're going to look at quadrant 2. Yes? I got a root of 2 that part where you the square root. This part? No, the top. This part? Yeah. When you square root 1, the square root of 1 is still a 1. But then when you square root 2, it's not perfect. So that's where you would fix it. So essentially, when you square root a fraction, do the top and the bottom separate. Okay. So the part that is a perfect square, you can just switch it. But the part that's not, you can leave it. So we're looking at the square root of 2 over 2, right? Correct. And we need it to be an x value. Thank you. Okay, you're welcome. All right. Let's finish this up. So we're looking for plus or minus root 2 over 2. We need it in the x. Okay, we've already done quadrant 1. Go to quadrant 2. What angle do I want in radians? 3 pi over 4. Write it down. 3 pi over 4. Okay, next we're going to look in the bottom, quadrant 3. Where is my negative root 2 over 2? 5 pi over 4. Okay, and then the last one is? 7 pi over 4. Now, I'll give you a little hint here. Okay, that you're never going to have bottoms of the fraction in an answer set that aren't the same. So if that one's over 4, they should all be over 4. You shouldn't have some over 4 and some over 3 and some over 6 in the same answer. That would not work out. Yes? Would it tell us when to look for radians? Yes. So your test, remember what I said? I'm taking away your calculator. So it is multiple choice. Okay. But you'll have access to your circle. So based on what the answer choices are, you'll know which way you're answering it. So it won't be like software. Correct. Correct. Okay. Okay, let's go down to the next section. Okay, let's do number 9. Okay, gentlemen. Okay, Amari. Hello, Amari. Let's go. I see you. I know it's you. Okay, I have a -2. What do I do? Okay. 0 plus 2 is 2, Alexis. Okay, and then from here, if I go to look on my circle, I see that I have CSC. That's not an X or a Y. However, remember, each of the secant and cosecant have relationships back to the original. What is CSC if I flip it? Good. Okay, but remember, you have to flip both sides, so that'll go back to sine. What will I put 2 over so that I have something to flip it with? 1. So I'm looking for 1/2. Is sine the X or the Y? Sine is the Y value. So I'm looking for all the places on the circle where my Y value is 1/2. Now, quick little point here. If I'm looking for a Y value that's positive, should I consider the top of the circle or the bottom of the circle? You only have to look at the top, okay, because the only positive Y values will be up from the x-axis. We'll do this one in radians again, sure. Okay, so I'm looking for 1/2 as a Y value. Where are the 2 places that happens? Pi 6 and 5 pi over 6. Okay, notice that you do not have a plus or minus on this one. So you should only end up with 2 answers, not all 4. Do we have the I on our test? Well, I'll give you a formula chart with everything labeled on it neatly so that, because some people's circles are a little. A little scruffy. Okay. No, I like it to be. Okay, yes? Okay. So on this notes, it doesn't specify. On the tests though, since it's multiple choice, you'll be able to tell which one based on what the answer choices are. Okay? So I'm trying to just do a little bit of both. So you've done, yes? Okay, go to number 10. Number 10 is root 2 CSC plus 2. What do I do? -2. Thank you. That's right. Good job, Reese. Okay, 0 minus 2 is -2. From here, I want to get rid of that root 2 from the front, so I'm going to divide it. Which means that I want CSCX to equal -2 over root 2. Now, if this was a sine or a cosine, I would have to fix this. Why do I not have to fix it right now? Because I'm about to do what? Very good. Yes? Yeah, it's a type. Oh, sorry. That's okay. So we're going to flip both sides. CSC will go back to SIN. And that's going to fix this square root on the bottom, because when I flip it, it's going to end up back on the top. So I'm looking for sine to be -√2 over 2. Should I consider the top or the bottom half of the circle for a negative y value? Very good. Okay, so find those two spots where we're doing radians again, where your y value is -√2 over 2. That's a 45. That's a 45. It's the negative on the 30. Okay, hold on. So let's try to lock it in a little bit. I shared like 15 questions. We're in radians. 225 is correct, but it should be 5 pi over 4 for that spot. Okay, then the other negative is 7 pi over 4. Very good one.
So we remove the -2?
I'm not sure. I don't think what you mean by that.
Because it was -2, but now it's -2.
The negative is just in the front. You don't need to like put it in the bottom. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Well, what if it's like excessive?
So look, on your circle, you have a -√2 over 2 here. And then you also have one here.
But what if it was like normally 2 and then?
Then it would still be negative. Now, the only exception to that, Reese, would be if somehow they were both negative, they would cancel each other out because you'd have one on top and one on bottom. Okay. We're going to do one more left from this section. Okay, gentlemen. Number 12, what do we need to do first?
-4.
-4. Okay, 5 minus 4 gives me how many? Okay, 1. Okay, then we're going to flip both sides. Secant's going to go back to what? Cosine x. And then 1, I need something to flip it with. It would stay 1 over 1 when you flip it. Okay. Then remember that cosine is our x value. So I'm looking for my x value to be a +1. Okay, look on your circle for where that happens. Okay, it would be 0. Now, if we're in degrees, we would say 0 degrees. But if you're in radians, you would say 0 pi. Okay, also the same as 2 pi. Remember, those are coterminal, which means they're in the same spot on the circle. So if 0 pi is an answer, so is 2 pi. 2 pi is 360. All right, turn the page. Okay, the last little bit of this is going to require, okay, for us to label the answers for tan around the outside of your circle. So I need your circle to have these on there. So let's try to pay attention so we can write them in. Okay, gentlemen. Okay, For tan, how do I find it? This is on your test review. You should know this. Y over x. So let's say that I want the tan of 0. I'm going to do y over x. Okay, and notice that your circle's right here. So here's my ordered pair is 1, 0. What would y over x be?
0 over 1.
Okay, 0 divided by 1, what do I get?
0.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. No, 0. Okay, remember 0 on top is okay. All right, here's what I want you to do. Around the edge, you're going to put tan equals 0. Okay, now there's one other spot that the tan is 0.
360.
Okay, okay, also 360. Listen. Okay, if I do 0 divided by 1, I get 0. What about 0 divided by -1? 0. So I want you to put tan equals 0 at 180. Okay, the next one that we're going to do is 90 degrees. Okay, at 90 degrees, what will my fraction be for y over x?
1 over 0.
Okay, and for 1 over 0, what does that give? Undefined. Okay, then on your circle, I want you to put at the top of the circle, tan at 90 degrees is undefined.
That's not fair.
If you trace across to the other half of the circle, instead of 1 divided by 0, it would be -1 divided by 0, but what would that still give me? Undefined. So put tan equals undefined. Because it doesn't matter what's on top, the 0 on the bottom, that undefines it. Next one we're going to do is 45. So go to 45 degrees, that's right here. What is my y over x fraction going to be? Okay, very good. √2 over 2 divided by √2 over 2 again. Now, I'm not going to work it out, copy, change, flip, because if these numbers are the same, what are they going to divide to? 1. Very good. So on your circle, go to 45 degrees, and I want you to put that the tan equals 1. Okay, now there are other repetitions of that same ordered pair. So I had a √2 over 2 both times at 45 degrees. Okay, also at 225, so put tan equals 1. Okay, and now I want you to look at 135 for a second. Very good. Okay, the x and the y are almost the same, except one of them has a negative. So when everything divides, you would get -1. So put tan equals -1 at 135. Okay, and then there's one other spot where they're almost the same. Where is it? 315. 315. All right, we have 2 more left. We're going to do 60 next. Okay, 60 is y over x. What would we get? So at 60, what would y divided by x be? What fractions?
Y divided by x, that's going to be like 1 over 2 divided by 3.
Close. Make sure you put the y first.
Oh, square root 3 over 2 over 1 over 2.
Very good. And then we're going to keep, change, flip. So keep the √3 over 2. Change it to a multiply and times by 2 over 1. What's going to happen to the 2's? Okay. And we're just going to get √3, yeah? Okay, so now let's go around to 60 degrees. And we're going to put that our tan is √3. Now, where else do I have almost the same point? Okay, 1/2 comma √3 over 2 in quadrant 2 at 120. But what's the only difference? Now it's going to be a negative √3. Okay, down in quadrant 3, they both have a negative. How is the √3 going to come out? my tan will come out positive root 3. And then I just have one more of that same ordered pair. This time the x is positive, but the y is negative. How will it come out? Negative. Okay, if only one of them is negative, that'll make the whole thing negative. Versus when they're both negative, the negatives will cross out. Okay, we have one more left. Go to tan 30. 30, I want y over x. My ordered pair is right here. So this time my 1/2 is on the top. My root 3 over 2 is on the bottom. And we're going to keep change flip. So keep the 1/2 the same. Change it to a multiply. And make it a 2 over root 3. What's going to happen with the 2's? Okay, so my final answer is 1 over root 3. Should I write it like that, though, around the edges? No, remember, you got to fix that. No square roots on the bottom. So go over here to 30 degrees. If I fix this, how would it come out? Root 3 over 3. Very good. Okay, so it's a square root 3 over a regular 3. Okay, go across the circle to quadrant 2. It's almost the same pair, but now one of them's negative. So it would be negative root 3 over 3. Okay, what about in quadrant 3? How would this one come out? Positive or negative for root 3 over 3? Positive. Okay, why is it positive? Because if they're both negative, their negatives cross each other out. Okay, and then last one right here, tan would go back to negative. Okay. Now that you have your tans labeled around the circle, okay, solving it will be just as easy. So let's do number 3. Let's do number 3. I have tan squared x minus 3 equals 0. What would I do first? Add the 3. So I have tan squared x equals 0 plus 3 is 3. Next step, take that. And what do I put when I take the square root? And then on the other side, what goes in front? Plus or minus square root 3. But yeah. Okay. Then you're going to look for, remember, sines to y, cosines to x. Your tans are now around the edges. So you're going to look for anywhere that tan comes out to be either positive root 3 or negative root 3. So let's put x equals. Okay, we said 60. That was correct. We'll just do this one in degrees. Okay, then 120. Then 240. And then 300. Hey, guys. Okay. Last one we'll do off this page. Do number 2. Okay, so 3 tan squared minus 3. What do we do first? Okay, plus 3 plus 3. Next step, divide the 3, which means you have tan squared x equals 1. Next step, take the square root. What is tan x going to equal? Plus or minus, and the square root of 1 is still 1. Okay, you should be able to find all 4 answers around the edges of the circle. Okay, go ahead and do them in degrees. So when is my tan positive 1 in quadrant 1? Nope.
Wait, what'd you say?
When is tan 1?
Oh, yeah.
45? 135, 225, and then there's one more. 350. Okay, you get the idea?
Yeah. All right, let's get this.
All right, so remember, you do not have a Delta map today. Okay, instead you have a test review. I'll take one back. This one.
No, wait,
Correct.
Not really. It's been a while.
No, I'm glad to get it the way they did it. I don't wanna actually be able to watch somebody for camera while I'm like, I don't think so. What? You wanted to like do it? It's like. That's a big like. I still look better than it's. No, there are somebody has to do it. You get blocked by no.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna give you some instructions on your review. Okay, before you get started though, we did not do any cotans, so will you turn to number 33? Just on the back. All right, last page, number 33. Oh, what did I give you? Did I give you the wrong one? Yes. That's a note. That's a notes. The review I just passed out. Yeah. Silly guy. All right. Add the 3 across. So I have cotan squared x equals 3. What's my next step? Okay, which means that I want the cotan of x to equal square root 3. Don't forget your plus minus. Okay, from here, we didn't cover cotan on the notes, but it's the same pattern. I don't have cotan around the edges, but I do have tan. So what do I need to do on both sides? Cotan flips back to what? Tan. And then my root 3, I'm going to have to put it over 1 so that I have something to flip it with. So root 3 over 1 will go to 1 over root 3. And I'm never going to find that on my circle because no square roots on bottom. So what will I actually be looking for when I'm looking for tan? And don't forget the plus or minus root 3 over 3. Okay, and then remember, your tan values are around the edges of your circle. Okay, and you should be listing 4 spots now for your review. If it is an even question, you're going to do it in, hold on, I forgot. Okay, if it's an even question, you're going to do it in degrees. And then if it's an odd question, you're going to do it in radians. Okay, just so that you're not having to do it just picking one every time. So all the questions on the left, you're going to do in degrees. All the questions on the right, you're going to do in radians. It's just for the solving ones. For the rest of the packet, you won't have to pick because you'll just be picking the extra one. So where is my tan plus or minus root 3 over 3 starting in quadrant 1? $30, which is the same as what? Okay, correct. Okay. Next one would be 5 pi over 6. Next one would be 7 pi over 6, and then 11. Okay, and then remember what I said, whenever you have an answer set like that, the bottoms should all be the same. Okay, so all the evens we're solving in degrees, odds we're solving in radians. Okay, then if you will, please cross out 17, 18, and 20. And then remember that for the majority of these questions, you're literally just looking at the circle and then picking the X or the Y. Most of these you're not actually seeing. So 17, 18, and 20. Okay. Cross them out because they're not on your circle. We don't need to be sassy. Okay, last example I'm going to do with you today, and then we're done. Go to number 6 on the front. How do I find a positive or negative coterminal angle? Okay. Gentlemen, Chromebook should be put away still for now. Okay, for a coterminal angle, you are going to either add or subtract what number in degree mode? 360 degrees. Okay, however, if you're in radian mode, remember we measure that in pies. How many pies is 360 the same as? 2. So remember, in radian mode, you're going to add or subtract 2 pi. Okay, if it says positive coterminal angle, you're going to add 2 pi. Negative, you're going to subtract. So let's do number 6. We'll just do both parts. Start with the angle they gave you, negative 7 pi over 4. And we are going to add 2 pi to that. But then we notice that if one of them's a fraction, they have to both be fractions with a common denominator. So what that means is if this guy has a 4, this guy needs a 4. Okay, and then 4 times 2 pi, how many is this now? 8. Very good. So I have negative 7 pi over 4 plus this is now an 8 over 4. What is negative 7 plus 8? Correct. So it'd be negative 7 pi over 4 plus 8 pi over 4. That gives me 1 pi over 4. Okay, for the negative coterminal angle,
It's not negative 1 pi.
it would be positive because the 8 was bigger. You'd keep the sign of the bigger number. Okay, for the negative coterminal angle, it would be the same math, except instead of adding, you subtract. So I'd have minus 7 pi over 4 and then minus 8 pi over 4. And then remember that if these are both negatives, you should get a bigger negative. So if I borrow $7 from you and then I borrow 8 more, now I owe you how many? 15 pi over 4. Okay, so in degrees, you're adding or subtracting 360. Okay, in radians, you're adding or subtracting 2 pi, and you'll just have to make your bottoms match. Questions? Okay. Good. If you can do your review, this test should be a cinch. Okay? Yes? Sure. Which one? Sorry. I don't.
Yeah, I'm just
yeah. I just. Yes, Luke? Now, if you add on number 3, you know how it's a negative 400? So if you add 360 to that, it's going to still come out negative. Then you have to just add 360. Does that make sense? Correct. I did number 33. I'll put it up here for you.
I just give you that. Okay, do I send it?
So the only new step, if you just kind of fast forward to here, is since you don't have cotan around the edges of the circle, when you flip it, it'll go back to tan, and then you can still find it the same way.
Yeah.
You know that.
That's not what it's about.
I've received a lot of emails.
Stop
I
the chat.
actually don't recall. I saw it.
A bunch of people said it didn't look like. That it did look like. Yeah. You can tell.
What, yeah, what's on?
Oh, yeah, and it's slim. Slim is no longer.
Yeah, no, that's what I had 1 year question.
Okay, and then can you tell me which is the-
These are preventable. That's me to ask for. Got it. So.
Hey, I really have been trying to not split y'all up, but I'm like at the end of my,
You gotta wish it.
I'm almost aside, and I feel like I have a lot of patience, but y'all just, yeah. So, it's
Y'all
so,
be snoring, y'all be snoring, y'all be.
I would prefer doing snoring to you just acting like I don't exist and just laughing.
Oh, for real. Boom, Mari, problem solved.
Oh,
I did forget my shit. You guys may have to read.
I would not mind if you got that after, you guys do also that. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Like, if I can get mine.
So are you?
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna have 20 years. And then retire.
So then,
30, 20 years.
let's look at it. And then you can just kind of work.
I'm not gonna sign it on here different. I'm gonna sign C.
Next time, six.
This one? So you're just adding 2 pi, but then because the 2 pi doesn't have a 4 on the bottom, we have to put a 4 on the bottom and on top, that's what turns out in our and -7 plus 8 gave us a 1. So we split the bottom the same, but if they were going. Okay?
He didn't know.
That's why I know that song. It's on again. Oh, yeah.
It's just,
But he's like, he's
and then if it's a nuclear
Hey, what branch is it?
Sure.
I was like, oh, yeah.
For the man.
On the test, numbers that are like, you know. Okay, so let's say. So, right, so we asked.
Private show. Look, that's all the time. Oh, what is? No, like, I'm there.
So.
Go share.
Co-sign it.
What did I do?
So write that down.
They could have gave
Right.
And then
They recalled. They recall it.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
Oh my God.
Like, we did the radius thing, but it's really all the same though. It's like,
Okay.
put it on out, I think that.
Bro,
And if you find your notes today.
wait, you finish the notes.
So we're looking for that. This is the only thing. We're gonna write the page. Let's do a couple of them. Just to make sure you're still working. You like your two classes ago or just last time?
Yeah, we can continue the story time.
So let's say that you want cosine. Define. That's it.
Perhaps you didn't. No, it's not. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, go back to, I gotta go back to the race. Yeah, I started learning in sixth grade. That was part of the grade. I don't know. I promise you. Well, yeah. Wait.
That was a great time with that.
No, I think you want to for math, I can help.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
The shorter. Okay, and just I want to know this and shake it.
I was being started. And she was like, and she's like, I was gonna tell you, and I was like, oh, I've never, like, have you ever tried it? And she was like,
They don't have all
no,
the
but
specific
I was like, I have to read it now.
How possible?
No, that's
You
not
wear
a lie.
your shirt.
Now, it's
Have
like,
that bad sleeping lock up.
but like, I don't know how to.
That bad apple. Bad golden top.
This is sort of how I know.
You know, like, people like.
You add.
So I did.
Like, you can just use something like.
Well, happy 60.
Oh my God.
And then it just.
But I
It'll flow it, like, all you have to do is.
I don't need to learn.
I know.
Okay, so hold on. This is, which should still have 756.
Oh, God.
You should have taken care of two.
Sorry.
So erase this for now and let your 7 pile.
Hey, yeah, everybody knows that.
Right, 7 pile. And then what happens here? Yeah.
Oh my God, stop now.
But it's.
Yes.
Okay.
So that should help a little bit.
Wait, but then like, like.
So if you do 8 minus 7, it's like. And then remember the bottom. So if I vote 4, the answer will be.
It's what?
Now you just narrow the list down. Narrow the list. Oh, I know this. Please send them up today. That's why I was doing. I was
I come with it.
Monday. Oh, you're right. Then I guess.
Because this Thursday, I have.
You can do next Thursday. Wait, who?
No, it's definitely not. I'm definitely going.
That's fine.
Lives. Start lives.
So, then that you go through.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, then it's like, to me, it doesn't matter, your test grade is what it matters. You know what I mean? Yeah. Your review grades are.
Can I come?
Because they're both cosine. You see how it's negative root 2 over 2, so that.
Alright, no, I don't.
Sign it, so you can.
For my AC, I'm gonna go live. Yes, the AC. For my 17.
EJ and the WP thing.
What day?
Okay. Alexis. Oh my God.
Yes, sir. You're there.
Okay.
Your birthday is,
You guys make it so good. Y'all make it so good. It's your paper. No, February. Now, you know my favorite class. You know my favorite. Never mind. You know, not having no freaking. Yeah, I know that.
Kevin.
I know that version.
I know those are fine.